It took almost a century to conceptualize, the philosophers, to conceptualize what is an author's right and to bring that concept into law. And the first one to have a real, to conceptualize it was Immanuel Kant. And a few years later, Schiller, the German poet, he gave a very beautiful example, taking Kant's notes, Kant's thoughts, making them simple. He said, if I have a book, what does the copyright protect in that book? Now, a book has three parts. One is the physical book, which belongs to anyone, first to the printer who printed it, and then whoever bought that book. That physical copy belongs to that person. But that is not copyright. The second part of a book is the content which the author, he has discovered a new theory, he has discovered new ideas, he has seen a new vision, he has a new emotion. He tells new about some human situation. Now that too is not copyrightable, because that, the purpose for which the writer writes that, is to communicate his emotion, what he felt, what he thought, to communicate, and so that anyone who has the intelligence and who has the courage to reach to that same understanding or to reach that same emotional experience. So that too is not copyrightable. But there is the way it is said. And as a famous writer said, style is the man. Okay? It's your expression. If all of you, I give you subjects, boy chases girl around the tree, all of you are going to make a song, but each song is going to be very different. That is your expression. That is your identity. And this is what copyright protects. That the way you say it, and that nobody can copy. It becomes plagiarism. And the case now of Javed Saab, you have seen, was T-series. You must have followed, some of you. They have taken the Mukda. You have stolen the Mukda. He has written it that way. You cannot cut out the Mona Lisa without his permission. So you need the permission of the original author. And we'll see how it plays out in court, but basically this is the essence. That, of course, someone who writes a song, he wants that 1,000 people record it. That's you want that the whole world sings the song. So no writer is going to oppose the fact that someone else records his song. But you cannot you cannot modify it without that person's permission, and especially you cannot take away his right to royalty. You are using his property. At least discuss with him and say, look, some is mine, some is new writer, but we have taken Uta, so let's come to an understanding. He's a lyricist. The new guy is a lyricist. Why would they not come to an understanding? They will come to an understanding because they're all colleagues. Okay? So that the way you express, that self-expression, and it's a discussion I had with Bhushan Kumar some time back. Not this one, there are 10 others waiting. I say, yeah, but you want the Ferrari and there is a Nano outside. So do you want to take the Nano or do you want to take the Ferrari? Because all talent is not the same, and some talent maybe for particular type of films, while another talent, some great composers, you cannot ask them to play a club song because they won't know how to make a club song, or vice versa. So that beauty of your profession that you are workers of the mind, you are workers of emotion. And let me end with a story which I told to the Joint Parliamentary Committee and the present HRD minister, what's his name?
Javadekar.
Yeah, Javadekar. He liked it very much. See, I had many years ago, I have a friend, he's a neurosurgeon, world famous. He did the first surgery using satellite. He was in the University of Strasbourg and he operated someone in New York. So we had a discussion and I said, no, according to your science, what is a normal man? So he said, look, Achille, there are two answers. One will take many days, but in a nutshell, a normal man is someone who knows where he comes from, who knows that one day he will die, and who can tell his story. That's a normal man. Okay. So basically, all of you are storytellers. So if you have a nation that does not produce fighter planes, it buys it from another country. It still remains a nation. If you have a nation that does not manufacture tires, it imports it from another country and it still remains a nation. But what about a nation where writers write books, nobody publishes them, and only books written by foreigners are read? What about a nation where the filmmakers can't bring their films to theater, it is only foreign films that are shown? What about a nation where local musicians cannot, their music is not played on radio, only foreign music? According to my friend, this nation cannot tell its story anymore, and therefore it becomes abnormal. So basically you are the storyteller of the nation. And what is India? Look at Singapore. I mean, Singapore is not a nation. What literature do they have? What music? They have nothing. It's just they have nice streets and nice buildings. But you can't call that a culture. But what is India if you remove, the great filmmakers, the great composers, lyricists, book writers, the painters who give an identity? So basically, you are in the profession of somehow tapping into the psyche of the nation and create something that resonates among the greater people, that they know who they are and gives them an identity. So all this is the most noble of professions, and the copyright system is there to remunerate you, because royalties are the salary and the pension plan of writers, of creators, authors, composers, photographers, painters, etc. And one last thing is that when they say that, oh, you have sold all the rights, you don't own anything anymore, all right? But those rights which you bought from me, how long do you own them? As long as I live, plus 60 years after my death. If I commit suicide now, you will lose crores of rupees. So how can you say there is no link? And what about the clause, if you've seen the Copyright Act, I think it's clause 57, which is called the resale right. If you have a painter, young painter, new painter, he sells his painting for 1 lakh. 20 years later, he has become famous. And I bought his painting for 1 lakh, and now I sell it for 10 crores. According to the Copyright Act, 10% of these 10 crores has to go to the painter. Why? Because the painting didn't go from 1 lakh to 10 crores because it was hanging on the walls of Mr. Times of India or God knows who. It's because this guy continued and was working, and it reflects in his price. So there is an ontological tie between any work of art and the creator. No matter what he bought for new, what he bought from the painter was the frame and the painting, the physical object. If I buy a bottle of Coke or Zurica, I don't become the owner of the logo of the property rights of Zurica. You bought the painting. And if you change the painting, I can sue you and put you in jail. You haven't bought the intellectual property. So that's, you see, the thing is, when you talk, most of these producers, look at them. Where did they come from? They were silver smugglers in the 70s. And they were, and then they, like everywhere, we have seen it, in Central Europe, when I was working with the French Minister of Foreign Affairs. All of the record labels, they were all pirates. But once they get a lot of money, they start producing and they become owners of copyright. And suddenly they are against piracy.